what has happened to me is as a result of someone who got drunk. I was involved in a road traffic accident, sustained spinal injury. It was a head-on collision with the bike that I was on. My body, my legs couldn't carry me. In fact, when it happened, because I was unconscious for like 2 weeks stretch. And I think by the time I woke up from the accident in the hospital and I started gaining and myself and wondering which environment I was, I realized that my legs, I was wondering where my legs were.
It's time to talk.
I need someone to help me with all this, please. Oh my goodness. Join me as we welcome our guest for today. Please, someone help me with my shoe, please. My shoe, please.
Here comes Kaine.
My name is Grace Jerry. I'm a woman who wears a lot of caps. I'm a recording artist, a human/disability rights advocate, a peace promoter, and Mandela Washington Fellow, International Society for the Performing Arts Fellow. I'm a lot of things, so I'm just going to leave it here for now, yes.
Now, I've met a few persons with disability.
Yeah.
And the ones that I've met, the 3 people I've spoken with passionately were not born like that. Now, in this your journey, the ones that got this, this problem without birth, I mean, through vaccine and all that, what are you doing to correct that?
Okay, so I would say that disability happens for different reasons. Some are born with it, congenital. Some acquire it along the line. Someone like me acquired it at age 22. I was in 22, yeah. I was involved in a road traffic accident, sustained spinal injury. So people acquire disability due to so many, reasons. And for those who have polio, that's under the class of the physical disabilities, already there's the virus in their system. So what happens is that when they either don't get the vaccination on time, or when it comes, it hits and it affects the limb or affects the whole body, depending on how critical the virus has spread within the body of that child. And that is why during the polio campaign, they called on any and every mother, families to bring out their children to be vaccinated. But of course, in the time past, people didn't really believe in the potency or didn't even believe in the efficacy of the whole polio vaccine campaign thing. And also in the time past, they weren't these vaccines too. So a child would get hit with polio. And for some children, when they're getting the vaccine already, it had spread. So the vaccine comes in probably like a trigger or something like that. So like I said, disabilities happen for so many reasons. So for us to prevent it is, I know that over time, the polio campaign has done tremendously in curbing the number of children who are being, affected by polio over time. But what I would continue to say is that, parents need to be more aware whenever there's going to be like a widespread vaccine, exercise. Just make sure that your children are well vaccinated, that's it. But disability is something you can't prevent. I was just out doing my own thing, coming back home, and then I was hit by a drunk driver. So it happens, and that's why when we advocate, we call on everybody to advocate for the issues of persons with disabilities, because if it hasn't reached you, it hasn't passed you by.
You understand?
Yeah.
Now we're going to come back to this, talking about this vaccination.
Take a seat, let's have a chat. What's going on with you? Something fun, something new. Let's see what we can do. It's time to talk.
Most cases, I know, like you said, which is very true. Now, about the maintenance of this vaccine, taking it to the rural areas, is it being maintained in the right temperature before it arrives?
Yeah, I don't know so much about it. But I would say that I know that the government or the body who have been responsible over time for ensuring that the polio vaccine gets to the places. I think they've gone around to even the rural areas. But like I said, sometimes the level of awareness of the people in the community, there was a period of time they were saying, I know that they were just trying to do family planning. They will bring it in the name of polio vaccine, but they are just trying to do this.
Something else.
And apart from the polio vaccine, there were other vaccines that would go around for people to get their shot. And because there's no enough level of awareness by the people, especially the rural people, they feel probably are trying to bring harm to them. So while that exercise is ongoing, it's important that awareness is being done. Awareness in the language that the rural people would understand. And also involving stakeholders that are one with the people in the community. So like the community leaders, the women leaders, the traditional and religious leaders, involving them in the process kind of build the trust of the people in the community to want to take those vaccines. So like I said, I don't know much about, I'm not in the healthline, but I would say that there's need for more awareness in a language that the people would understand and embrace the process, so that they know that it's to serve them and not to harm them.
Some people are not physically disabled, but they are mentally disabled. Now, how did that change your life? Your friend circle?
Yeah.
How did things change?
Well, it changed tremendously. First, the shock was even for me. And then, of course, the people around me, because I couldn't understand why my body, my legs couldn't carry me. In fact, when it happened, because I was unconscious for like 2 weeks stretch. And I think by the time I woke up from the accident in the hospital and I started gaining and myself and wondering which environment I was, I realized that my legs, I was wondering where my legs were underneath the hospital blanket, the bed. And I asked my sister, where are my legs? And she just lifted my hands and she put, and like I felt. So the question for me was like, I have legs, but how come I can't feel them under these blankets? And I think that was when I realized that something would have happened to my body, but at that point I still had not comprehended. So the shock, like I said, was for me first. And for the 3 months period that I was in the hospital, and in fact, every day I wake up and I'm getting ready for this leg. Wake up now, let me walk out of this place, that kind of thing. But like I said, it's been 22 years now since it happened, and I'm still not back on my feet. Still don't have full sensation on my legs yet, So, but then it affected my life because I had to learn to live life all over. I was 22 when it happened. Just trying to navigate my life as a young lady, and all of that. So I couldn't go back to school. I was in the University of Jos then doing a diploma program. I couldn't go back to school immediately because I was in the hospital. I kept going in and out of hospital for like a whole year. So I couldn't go back to school. My friends were visiting. At some point, they stopped coming. I was left alone with my elderly parents. And my siblings, of course, were schooling and working. So there were moments where I had to be home alone with just parents. Lonely, I was depressed. I couldn't understand why me. I've been a church girl all my life. I'm still a church girl. And I'm wondering, of course, I see what they do in school, in UJ. I see how these girls jump. They go for clubbing from the hostel and come back in the wee hours. And I'm like, God, why wasn't it one of these girls? And I've served you all my life. All this blackmail, talking to God.
Why me?
Should I call it a blackmail? But it's just like anger. You're just venting and ranting to God.
Very correct.
Yes.
You're very correct.
Yeah, so that's, for me, that was what happened. But then I didn't understand it. And the people around me couldn't really understand because I was so depressed and I was carrying it out on almost everyone around me. Yeah. But then in the midst of the challenges, the depression, the confusion, I knew that I didn't want to die. I wasn't ready to die. And I think that was, for me, that was the turning point where an elder brother of mine had a heart-to-heart talk. And he said to me, it's all right if you just want to die and rest. Like, we will be at peace with that. And you would also be at peace. But if you want to live, I think you should embrace whatever it is that has happened. and just be at peace with it as well. And because I didn't want to die, I embraced it. And I think that was a healing process for me. That was when it began. And I began on that journey of first accepting what had happened to my body, and also just living a purposeful life through it. And I would say to you that it's been a beautiful ride of purpose.
But before then, this was not going to be what you're going to do.
No, not at all. You know, we grow up as children and say, I want to be this, I want to be that. I've always said I wanted to be a journalist. I just wanted to sit in front of the camera. I want to go out, generate news, and just come. And I think my role model then was Tokunbo Ajayi. If you know, in those days, NTA Tokunbo Ajayi.
I know the name.
Yeah, Tokunbo Ajayi. And anytime I see her on the 9 o'clock news when my dad is watching, I'll be like, this is what I want to do for life. But then I didn't told the part of journalism. But like I said, I'm living a life of purpose because I sit in front of the camera all of the time to talk about the work that I do, to talk about anything and everything. And it's just a purposeful life, I would say.
Like
Yeah.
a meat twist.
Oh yeah, it threw me lemon and I turned it into lemonade. Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are in this situation. It might not be physical disability.
Yeah.
Some people are locked up, but they have everything,
Oh yeah.
but they're mentally disabled. And yet, they feel life has not been fair to them. But in the eyes of people, they are like a model. I want to be like this person.
Yeah.
Now, how do such people come out from that problem?
Disability is visible, likewise invisible,
Yeah.
like you're saying. And disability, what people see and tag as disability is what you see. When you see on a wheelchair or a blind man with a cane, those visible disabilities that you can see. But the first disability is what happens to your mind, like you said. If you're disabled in your mind, it doesn't matter whether your limb or your hand, your legs, your eye, your ear is affected. If your mind is affected, you are completely disabled, you're completely shattered. And the society we live in these days, you would find a lot of people who are depressed, who have anxiety, who has post-traumatic stress disorder. Something is just going on with people. And that, in a way, it's disability itself.
And anything and everything just triggers something.
Anything and everything just triggers. And that's why, you know, one of the things we tell ourselves every day is that just be kind to people. Because people lash back at you because there is something that is locked up. So the war is internal. It's something that is going on the inside and then it explodes on the outside. So a lot of people are walking around with one form of disability or the other. Have you had anxiety? That's a disability. Have you had depression? That's anxiety. So that's why we talk about this campaign and advocacy around disability issue. It shouldn't be for just people that you can
physical,
see, you know, physical.
Yeah.
It's everybody's call.
Yeah.
It's everybody's fight. It's everybody's struggle.
Yeah.
Because you might be sitting pretty,
Yeah. Yeah.
looking all put together, and then you hear that the person commits suicide
Overnight.
overnight.
I'm saying that because the guy that did this was drunk. Now, we push most of this, you know, insecurity to something. Someone can go be drinking liquor.
Just to suppress
just
something.
To suppress something.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the eyes of people, he's a drunkard. In the eyes of people, this person, but you know, something, the person had to hide something in that.
Exactly.
Now, but even for the society, because overseas, when someone is drunk, driving, and even if he didn't hit somebody, that person's license will be taken
Oh
away.
yeah.
And there'll be things that will be done. Now, in this part of the world, such things don't happen.
No,
Now,
they
as
don't.
an advocate, is this something you consider for people of such, like drinking and driving? What happens to them?
We've done a couple of campaigns around that, and I called that campaign back then, Think Me. I said, when you want to drink and drive, think about me. When you want to pull out, you know, a gun and just pull out your trigger and just shoot at sporadically, think about me. So when you want to do anything, think of the side effect of it. I called it the Think Me project. I think I should get back to that project because I did it some time back, and I think I should get back. And that project basically was to call on people who drink and drive, because what has happened to me is as a result of someone who got drunk, and it was a head-on collision with the bike that I was on. So it was just a general call, and I remember I reached out to the Road Safety Commission.
Yeah.
Yes, to see how they could take that campaign very seriously. Before you give a license to somebody, you need to even do some kind of background check on the person's track record. Is this person a drunk? And all of that. And just like you said in the abroad, when your license will be revoked. But here in Nigeria, even if your license is revoked, you still see them on their way.
Yeah.
So it's just for these agencies to take up their work seriously. Because a lot of things happen. People don't just lose lives. I say this many times. People don't just lose life as a result of either road traffic accident or during insurgency. People don't just lose life. People become disabled as a result of an action. So the call is for everyone to just take security seriously, to take, the safety and the life of people seriously. If you want to drink, then don't get on the road or get someone to drive you. But then it's going to be a lot of work in this part of the country for such an advocacy to even to be embraced by all. But then we can't keep quiet. I started it some time back, and I know some other people are doing it who have experienced loss as a result of accident from drunk driving. It's just for every one of us to just continue. Talk about this as much as you can. Don't drink and drive, because the cause of it is you can't revoke it.
It cannot be reversed. I think it should be in law.
Yeah.
It should be a written law.
Exactly.
There are some important laws countries take or nations take that it's not only beneficial for the people, but even as a society. Because you as a president, you as a minister, it could be your children, it could be your driver.
Exactly.
But if there's a law in place, so as you're obtaining the license, you understand the consequences.
Yeah, but something about law is and it's good to have policies, to have law in place. Implementation is where we have a problem in this country. Implementation. So there are so many laws, beautiful laws. We could come up with a road safety law. That's if something is not already in existence. But implementation is where the problem is. And that's why a road safety official, they will stand by the roadside, and instead of checking, they will just collect something by the side and let the person go. So implementation is zero, and that's why we still continue to have problems.
Honestly, it's our honor to actually meet you today.
Thank you.
And honestly, we are so happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
To meet you, and very happy to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you. It's my pleasure too as well. Thank you.
Do you have any word you want to share, encourage anyone?
There's a lot. But I think one of the things I would say is when disability hasn't reached you, don't think it's none of my business. Because right now we're talking about disability, issues around disabilities. If it hasn't reached you, don't feel like it's none of my business. Disability could happen anytime, anywhere, to whom it chooses. And we make disability issue part of your story. So that is what I would say to you. Make disability issues part of your story. Any opportunity you have to just do something that would add, to the life of a person with disability, do it. Don't wait until it happens. There's something I'd say to people. Before I became a person with disability, I'd never met anyone. I never really bothered about disability issues until the accident happened to me. So when it happened, I was clueless. I didn't know how to navigate my left from my right. Everything I knew or I started learning was either online or just something. Don't wait until it happens to you. It might happen to a friend. It could happen to a friend's child. It could happen to your elderly parents. It could happen to you when you're aging. Make disability issue part of your story. And with that, we are pushing for the cause as a collective, but not as an individual.
That's so wonderful. I hope and I believe you've learned one or two things. And like she said, Speak out. Share your stories. It could be a process to healing.
Yeah.
Don't forget to keep subscribing, share, and follow. This is the Kaine Kranda Show. We love you. Bye for now.
It's time to talk.